Yeah, my name's Jonathan Kung. I'm a physician, gastroenterologist in Manhattan. Yeah.
Tell me what inspired you to come out today.
I'm Taiwanese. I've always supported Asian American culture, Asian culture. There's been a lot of violence, hate against Asians, the Asian community lately, and we wanted to just come out here, have our voices heard. Whether the media is portraying this or that, I think the fact of the matter is that there really is violence going on. I'm hearing a lot of different things about this is a narrative being run by the government, that this is a problem that's happening in the Asian community that has always happened, but we're just raising our voices now. This is something that's been going on for a little while, and it's even worse now, and we have to make it be known.
Has racism affected you in your life? Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, my parents, they're both born and raised in Taiwan, moved to Brooklyn, experienced a lot of racism, but they worked hard. They did well for themselves, and even growing up, yeah, I would experience racism in the San Francisco Bay Area. And growing up as a kid, you don't notice these things. You have friends from all different ethnicities, and I found that as I grew older, I started to understand these concepts more, and that racism really does exist. And there's horrible things that happen against the Latino population, the African American population, but it includes the Asian population as well, and I think that's something that's not as well accepted. And we want that to be accepted.
Talk a little bit about where you grew up and how that really shaped your identity as Asian American and kind of the struggle that a lot of people have.
Yeah, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, to be honest, in a predominantly Caucasian community. I had wonderful friends, wonderful peers. It wasn't until I attended UC Davis, the University of California, Davis in Northern California, that I really was immersed in an amazing Asian community, and it was kind of a double-edged sword in a sense that I was able to be exposed to culture, Asian culture that I wasn't before, but at the same time I was able to start understanding and experiencing that racism and a lack of acceptance for Asian cultures and Asian people, it really did exist.
Were you surprised by the racism against Asian Americans that happened during the coronavirus pandemic?
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't really that surprised. I'd seen racism before against the Asian community. I shouldn't just say Asian American, against the Asian community. It's something that I was talking about earlier last year in 2020. I feel there was a similar sentiment always, and now there was just a vessel, a reason to ride it. That coronavirus, oh, did it come from China? Maybe, probably, but it's not something that should be used as a vessel to extend your reach on racism. I wasn't surprised, and I was really disappointed in that, and that's why I started to speak out about it. It was really coronavirus happening and starting last February. It was really just being used as a vessel, as how people always had felt, and that's what we're trying to change, is not the reaction to what happened in Atlanta, not the reaction to what's happening from COVID-19. We want to change the deep-rooted sentiment in America.
So for some people who don't understand, obviously we're seeing violent acts happening,
Yeah.
but what are some other ways that racism is affecting Asian Americans that some people might not initially think about?
Yeah. So if you take the violence and the terrible violence against the elderly population, there's a lot that goes on, from graffiti to lack of acceptance of Asian businesses, that the misconception that Asians are the most wealthy people in the country. In the Asian community, most people work hard. Most of our parents are immigrants. A lot of my peers are immigrants from other Asian countries, and they've worked hard to really become successful and are still working hard. I feel there's a stigma, there's a stereotype that Asian Americans there's no such thing as poverty in the Asian community. There's no such thing as needing to claw your way through to make it in your career. I think Asians in our community, especially here in America, we should all be treated on the same way. And I think the only thing that I would say that needs to change is Asian Americans. There can be impoverished Asian Americans. There can be also not the best Asian Americans, but we're all the same type of people. So.
And finally, you're a doctor.
Yes, yes.
You obviously care a lot about people. Is it especially heartbreaking to see this happen?
It's been terrible. I've actually been at the hospital where I saw some attacks come in, and what's heartbreaking is these are defenseless 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old Asian elderly, and this isn't something that we're just raising awareness and something that's always been happening. There's definitely been an increase in violence against the elderly. It's been terrible as a healthcare provider, someone that wants to protect health, to see it happen against defenseless people, very fragile people. It's terrible, and it angers me and it angers our community. But we're not trying to fight violence with violence. We're not trying to fight anger with anger. We're trying to fight it with awareness and conversation. And I appreciate you guys putting this together.
Finally, the floor is yours. Is there anything else you think people should know about this issue?
I think what we need to understand is, even if it doesn't affect you directly, I feel it's our duty as Asian Americans, as being part of the community, especially since most of our parents were immigrants from other Asian countries. It's our duty to represent the younger population, to lead by example, and it's also our responsibility as sons, daughters, granddaughters, grandsons to represent the elderly who might not have the voice or the avenues right now to speak for themselves. So we're kind of right in the middle right now, where I'm really encouraging our peers who are in their teens to their 60s right now. We're in that age group where we have the power of social media. We have the power of bringing people together very quickly to raise our voices. And again, I want to represent the youth behind us and the elderly that have paved the path for us. It's our duty now.